Are you feeling burned out at work? During the financial crisis, companies held back on hiring, asking existing staff to do more with less. But nearly a decade on, this appears to have become a permanent fixture for many workplaces, and widespread burnout now has some companies scrambling for fixes. Joining us now to discuss is Dr. Alden Cass, a clinical psychologist treating patients with high-stress jobs. He's also the author of Bullish Thinking, the advisor's guide to surviving and thriving on Wall Street. Welcome, Dr. Cass. Tell us about the types of patients you treat, and how would you describe the stress levels you're seeing in your practice right now?
Well, I work with, a variety of clients that work in high stress, fast-paced jobs, corporate America, from lawyers to doctors, anywhere to even teachers. And all of these people are dealing with an unprecedented amount of uncertainty in their jobs. They're feeling more stressed than ever before, feeling like they're emotionally exhausted at the end of every workday. And things have really increased and ramped up in my practice in terms of the number of people coming in with, anxiety-related issues that have stemmed from a job burnout or a relationship burnout that was never dealt with.
Well, the numbers we have certainly back up what you're seeing. The phone counseling lines at Workplace Options, which is a provider of employee assistance programs, they say stress and anxiety are cited in 70% of the calls they're getting, and that is up from 2014 when 50% of callers needed help managing stress. And one of the ways this seems to be playing out, Dr. Cass, at companies is in increased turnover. Are you seeing that as well, the executives that you're treating? Are you seeing that they are recognizing the toll this is placing on their company, perhaps in part because they're feeling burned out themselves?
Well, I haven't noticed people exactly wanting to leave as much as they are burning out, ending up in the emergency room, and then ending up in my office realizing that it was all related to job burnout, where their mind and body kind of disconnected and they melted down in a way where they became really, emotionally unstable. And they started to feel like they could not handle each workday, felt purposelessness, loss of energy, very frustrated. And this is a chronic issue. It's
right.
Prolonged stress.
So, Dr. Cass, we hear a lot about burnout. What are the early symptoms of it so you can catch it before it gets to that point?
Well, I'd say the number one thing is not wanting to get out of bed in the morning to go to your job specifically. You're able to do other things, but when it comes to going to your job or being in a relationship, those are two areas where if you don't feel like you have the strength to do it, and it's specific to that, then it's relating to burnout. And also it's more of a sense of, this is never going to get better. This is the type of thought process that goes into a person's mind. What's the point of this? Mm-hmm. It's behavioral paralysis. In a nutshell.
So what is your advice for your patients that are exhibiting these early symptoms? How do you help them from getting to that full-blown breakdown?
Well, I think it's important to recognize that it's important to work to live, not live to work, and to work smarter, not harder. But it's important to be very assertive with your managers in terms of, and assertive meaning direct and respectful, in terms of when you have too much on your plate and how your work's going to suffer if you go any further, but you want to be a team player. Right. That's beneath the surface of everyone. Everyone wants to be doing as much as everyone else, but sometimes people work on overload and they can't go any further.
So what advice then do you have for the companies? Because they're also seeing the toll that this is taking, and some of them are offering things like yoga classes. What do you think companies need to do to retain and revitalize their workers?
Well, I think they have to tie emotional wellness with actual production and tie that to longevity on the job, and maybe have more group-based workshops from the employee assistance programs that they actually work hand in hand with, so that they're exposed to it and they even know it exists. And that's their way of farming out to a third party the wellness issue, which is already being done, but not enough.
Right.
Not enough exposure and reinforcement for it, as this will help production. This will help your performance.
Well, Dr. Cass, isn't part of the problem, though, technology and how it now facilitates an always-on work environment?
Yeah, it's technology and the global marketplace that we work within now. There are different time zones, so people might finish work at 5:30, 6 o'clock, which sounds dreamlike. But when things are happening in Japan or Australia at a completely different at 10 o'clock at night, and you're responsible for things that can go wrong, you're on. And you know, some people, their marriages are affected by this. Substance abuse can be related to this, and people have to be mindful and develop the coping skills necessary to be resilient.
And Dr. Cass, finally, are you seeing more, compared to what you were seeing, 10 years ago, more or less stress?
I'm seeing, well, compared to the tech bubble popping, I'm actually starting to see that same uptick, which concerns me because when the markets in 1999 were smoking hot, and I did my research on financial advisors on their mental health, those who were making the most money at the time of my study were those who were affected with the highest levels of emotional exhaustion, job burnout, and clinical levels of major depression. So money may buy you, your mortgage or pay for some security in your life, but it definitely does not seem to buy happiness.
Yeah, you get attached to that lifestyle. You got to keep paying for it. All right. Thank you so much, Dr. Cass, for giving us some insight into the burnout that we, see all around us these days. Thank you for that.
Thanks for having me.